Hello, parents. This is Valerie Abrahamian, and I'm the IEP Navigator. And I help parents get the education their child needs to thrive both in school and life after high school. And this morning, what I want to talk to you about are four very important things that you should do right now in the summer to prepare for the fall. Now, right now, the status of distance learning is still unclear. There is still no definite decisions. Some districts have sent out letters from superintendents offering guidance or somewhat of a decision that they may be opening in the fall. Others are saying they're not opening, they're going to have distance learning. I know of a school district close to where I live that they sent out a letter saying they were not going to open, and they were at least until 4 weeks after, and then they would make a decision whether they were opening 4 weeks after. And then 1 week later had another board meeting and changed their minds and sent out a letter to the entire school district saying that they were not going to open. Wait, they were not going to open. Then the last letter they got, they said they are going to open. So within 1 week, the school district changed their minds from they're not opening, they're waiting at least 4 weeks, to the next week, the following week, they sent out a letter saying that they were going to open. So, and that's because there was protests done at the school district office, DO, and the superintendent changed his mind just 1 week later after calling an emergency board meeting. So the things are still very tentative, is my point here. I don't think we can really trust what we're being told, as the example I just showed you. I think it's going to be up to the CDC and what's going to be happening in the fall as to what's going to determine really if we're going to be opening or not. But nevertheless, distance learning, it was going to be a part of our child's future, whether they open and they have partial school days, partial going to school 2 days a week, and distance learning 2 days a week, and then going back and forth every Friday, or not opening at all, distance learning, or opening and then having to shut down again because the virus flares up again or the numbers flare up again. That distance learning is a part of our future, parents, and so we can't get around this, okay? It is here and it's not going anywhere. So we need to prepare ourselves. You need to know the steps to take in order to ensure your child has an equitable distance learning plan. Because last April, May, and June, 80% of kids across the 7 million children in the nation on an IEP did not receive an equitable distance learning plan. So my points for you today are things that you should ask your local school district right now so you can be one of the first parents to ensure and lock in these things for your child. So number one is a device. Your child should have received a device from your local school district. This should have already happened for last school closure. If you don't have a device, get a device from your local school district. They must provide your child on an IEP with a device. And don't let them say, oh, well, we gave you one and we're only giving one per household. If you have a child in an IEP and then you have another general ed child, your child on an IEP needs their own device. And you can request that. Number two, you need to make sure you have good Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't get online, and therefore you don't have access to your child's distance learning plan, your child on an IEP I'm speaking about. So you must have good Wi-Fi. Districts are required, obligated to make sure you have accessible Wi-Fi where you can actually get online and receive the education for your child. Number three, You can request parent training. If you don't know, parents, how to access the technology in order to have your child access the curriculum, you can ask for parent training on technology. You don't understand Google Classrooms, you don't understand the platform they're using, you don't understand whatever it might be about technology, you can request parent training. That's another parent right, really, in this distance learning world we're living in right now. So those are the 3 points for device and Wi-Fi. Your child gets a device, make sure you have Wi-Fi, and make sure that you request parent training for technology if you need it. The second recommendation I have for you is instruction. So you want to make a clear request that your child receives online classes taught by their teachers on a daily basis and recorded in case your child isn't able to get on the live class, that it's provided in a recording so your child can listen to it afterward. That is a requirement for teachers to get online and actually teach live classes just as if your child was in school. So distance learning means that your IEP is implemented. Implementation means you have SAI services, meaning that you're receiving instruction from a special ed teacher, or you have support of a special ed teacher if you have an IEP. So you have the right to ask for how are your goals and objectives going to be worked on, parents, if you don't have a teacher actually teaching your child individualized education for you to work on the goals and objectives and to offer the accommodations in order for your child to receive the services. So that's the first point, is that you're going to request online classes that are recorded so students can access at a later time. Second point, you're going to request consistent school-wide schedule without conflicts with overlapping classes. So it was clear that there was a problem that a lot of teachers there was not a consistent schedule worked out. So say one teacher's offering a math class and at the same time another teacher's offering a language arts class. So the child had to choose between one or the other and miss the other class. So they need to develop a consistent school-wide schedule without conflicts with overlapping classes. My next point is moving on now to progress monitoring. My third point, progress monitoring. So last school closures, there was no progress monitoring, parents, none. So this time they must provide point number one, grades and or feedback on assignments. So your child must receive grades on everything that they turn in, and you must receive feedback on those assignments. What grade did they get? What things did they get wrong? So you can study the things they did wrong, just as if we're in school. Everything should be just as if when we're in school. So grades. Number two, receive assessments to measure academic progress on goals and inform academic placement during online learning. So that's progress monitoring, parents, data collection on where your child is on progress on goals, and informing you on where your child's at for present levels of performance, because when you have your annual, you're going to have to review your present levels of performance, and you need to know accurately as of the day of your annual, where is your child in their present levels of performance, not looking at the present levels of performance on the day of school closure way back on March 13th. That is a violation. They can't look back at March 13th present levels of performance. They must look at the day up to the day of where your child currently is on the day of their annual present levels of performance. Point number three, to survey the parents bi-weekly at the school site level to see what is working and what is not working. So they need to keep in communication with you. Is it working? What can we change? How can we help you? How can we help your child to access the distance learning plan? They should be in communication with you and be working collaboratively with you. That was one of the guidelines brought down from Secretary DeVos, that School districts and parents need to work together collaboratively and creatively in order to make this work. To date, that hasn't worked very well because districts, other than parents getting an email here or there saying, "Hi, Bobby, how are you? I hope you're okay," that's not communicating with parents to say what's working and what's not working. Let's make changes in those areas that aren't working. Okay, so that's the third point in progress monitoring. And my fourth issue for this is parent rights, how schools will reopen. So the first point on how schools will reopen would be develop a plan to include parent input and give parents a seat at the table during the decision making about how schools will reopen in the fall, including the parameters for a hybrid or distance learning schedule. So the hybrid schedule is the one I was talking to you about of some of the time they're in school, some of the times they're not. And just having parents have a seat at the table in the discussions and the decision-making process, whether schools are going to open, how they're going to reopen, and when they're going to reopen. You have a right, you have that parent right to have a seat at the table, parents. And my next point on that issue is to provide increased federal and state stimulus for parents to cover home child care costs or lost pay while children are learning at home. So that's a biggie. So parents, if both parents work and you can't be home to assist your child, sit next to them and help them access their distance learning plan and get on the computer, then you're going to have to hire someone else to come in to do that, or your child isn't going to receive an education. And if your child isn't capable of staying home alone, which most special ed children on IEPs are not, you're going to have to hire childcare to come in during the time your child would have been in school had school had been open. So you have the right to request increased federal and state stimulus for you to cover your home child care costs or lost pay while your child is learning at home, because you might have to stay home, you can't go to work, you might lose pay, you might even have to quit your job to stay home if schools remain closed. So you have that right, parents, to make that request. So those are my points for today in what you need to know now to ask for to secure your child's fall is successful, no matter what that looks like. I am offering a parent membership right now. It's only $25 for the first month, where I'm going over these things in depth, helping you to write the letters, the emails, make the requests appropriately, request your IEP meetings, prepare for your IEP meetings, develop a parent agenda, and a follow-up letter after your virtual IEP meetings to protect your rights, to ensure your child receives an equitable distance learning plan or equitable compensatory education when we open in the fall, to make up for everything your child did not receive in March, April, May, and June. So thank you, parents. Thank you so much. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you next Monday on the next Facebook Live.